are going to beat Tom Brady's Buccaneers. And we're going to talk about it right here on These Are the Breaks. Johnny Dell, get ready, baby. Here we go. Let's go. Yo, it's your boy Wayne Breezy and the one and only Johnny Dell. Football Academy is in the building, man. You're going to bring that academy here because we're going to talk about Brock Purdy and these 49ers. But Johnny, how you doing? How you been? It's been like a month, bro.
It has been a while. I had a little procedure, and then we've just been busy, and it is good to see. It's good to be back on the Wayne Breezy show, talking Niners and gonna look at Brock Purdy.
Ooh, Brock Purdy. So, assessing film, how Purdy did Purdy look? Just scale of 1 to 10.
I would give him a 7 to an 8. Very solid.
I'm not an expert, but I'm going to toot my horn because somebody in this chat was arguing with me because I gave him a B-, C++ ish in this game. And somebody gave him an A, and I was just like, what, an A?
Yeah, I mean, an A is tough because he did have some misses there, and I guess I grade a little bit differently too. Like, if I see a guy miss the read on the first window and then goes and makes an off schedule play and makes up for it, to me that's like a B- because
Gotcha.
you missed it, but you made up for it. But so it's kind of a wash. So I can't really give that an A. Can't really give it a failing grade. So, and he had a few of those. He had some misses, but he made some very nice plays in the game, which was encouraging. And we'll look at a few of those, but later. But overall, I felt like he didn't look like a 7th round rookie coming in the middle of a game.
Aha! That, my friend, I agree with. Perhaps the whole 31 teams in the NFL, except the 49ers, all 31 made a mistake, just like they made a mistake with Tom Brady. And how cool is it that we're playing the mistake Tom Brady for the New England Patriots? They drafted him 199th and all that good stuff, and then he turned out to be arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Some people are still stuck on Joe Montana era, and I'm like, it's a new game. Anyway, arguably. So, I'm not saying Brock Purdy can possibly be anything like a Tom Brady, but what if he is that to us? I don't know. I'm making stuff up, man. Just walk me off this ledge, man. Is Brock this guy?
I think it's a little early. I mean, there's some positive signs. There are some definite positive signs. He did play a lot of games in college. So, he comes in with a lot of playing experience. I think that's what you saw differently from him coming in this game versus maybe Trey Lance versus Seattle last year. When Jimmy went down and he came in, Jimmy had the calf injury. Trey Lance came in and you could tell the game was flying a million miles an hour. Trey Lance did not play a lot in college, so his learning curve has been very, very steep. And that's not a dog on Trey Lance because he looked way better by near the end of the season when he played against Houston. Mm-hmm. Right. So, but I'm talking about first experience, first time going in, and a similar situation. First quarter, Trey Lance was coming in after halftime for Jimmy, or in the third quarter, excuse me, or second quarter, sorry. And then Brock Purdy coming in the first quarter for Jimmy, and both of them not operating a game plan more for Jimmy Garoppolo. I felt like he looked like he was in good command. The game was not moving too quickly for him, which that was very encouraging. And again, I think it comes back to all of the experience that he had in college. So Are we seeing, Brock Purdy at the basement of what he's going to be, or are we seeing Brock Purdy, already nearing his ceiling? We don't know. That's what we don't know. I think there's been a long history, especially with the 49ers, of these quarterbacks coming in and looking really good early, and as getting on the train and then being let down. The first one I really think back to is like Tim Rattay coming in for Jeff Garcia, and
2000 draft.
and he ended up lighting it up. I think it was on Monday Night Football for Jeff Garcia, threw a couple touchdowns to Terrell Owens. And Terrell Owens, at the time was causing a lot of drama. And he was just like, yeah, I think Tim pushes the ball down the field better than Jeff Garcia did. And it caused all that drama in the locker room and everything. And then we go with Tim Rattay as a starter. And within a couple of years, we're drafting Alex Smith. And we've seen it with Nick Mullins, go, oh man, Nick Mullins is our guy. And we hop on that. We've just had different moments throughout the game, as 49ers fans, where we've kind of really jumped on these guys early for them looking good. I remember even that being about Sean Hill at some point.
I remember Sean Hill.
And so I think we have to, remember this is that the NFL has very little info on who Brock Purdy is. And so let's see where it goes from here.
Look, before we give out any more nuggets, make sure you guys hit that like button. All right. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And then after you subscribe to this channel, go on to over to Johnny Dell's Football Academy, his page, and make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys for being here. Round of applause to everybody there out there in the chat, man. This chat be popping. It doesn't matter what time of the day. It's like when you're on, they're getting it on. And I'm going to let them do their argument stuff out there. But yeah, I appreciate everybody. Shot Jay, it was really nice to meet you out there in California, man. I hope we get to do it again. So listen, we're going to be breaking down Brock Purdy on this episode. If you guys didn't know, we do want to figure out what can we do to defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, there's two issues for me, Johnny, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I'm sure you watched their film. The issue number one is Tom Brady. And I know a lot of people feel like he's older, he's fallen off, but that's not what his stats say. I had John on here earlier. We're going through this man's stats. The dude is 66% completion passes, over 3,000 yards, way headed into 4,000 this year. And he has, 16 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. How is that bad?
It's not. I think the perception is, because we don't all watch the Buccaneers' games,
right,
that we look at the box score and see the overall point totals and their record, and we say Tom Brady isn't doing it. It's always interesting to me how wins are not a quarterback stat. But then when we look at the Buccaneers record and their point totals, and we start saying Tom Brady is the one who's falling off. Okay, well then put that together for me. If this is not a quarterback stat, then why, when we look at the box score, do we immediately assume that Tom Brady is old and doesn't have it anymore? I'll just put that out there. But I think that's why there's this assumption that Tom is just not Tom anymore.
Okay. He's not. He's not. He's a little different. Maybe some personal things going on, But listen, Tom Brady. I just got the injury report from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Leonard Fournette isn't practicing. He's probably going to be a scratch on Sunday. He's the only running back that, to me, I feel like would wear down the 49ers defense, because that's the type of running back he is. But if he's not playing, I'm not worried. Which 49er was it Deshaun? When did Leonard Fournette get drafted? Does anybody know out there off the top of their head? I could have swore there was a 49er. They played us. He was with Jacksonville and he got laid out. And I can't remember if it was with us. I could have swore it was with us. No, I could have swore it was, but I feel like
that was during the dark ages.
It couldn't have been
the middle dark ages.
Who did we have that would have laid him out? Was it Eric Reed? I don't know.
I want to say Reed did pop him really good.
I want
I
to
want to
say
say
it
it
was
was
Eric
Eric
Reed. Look,
Reed.
Chache says it's 2017. I know I'm not the only one just rethinking this. Like it just hit me that he got hit, and it wasn't right. So they're going to be missing probably their running back, their main running back. They're going to try Ronald Jones or some of these other guys. Honestly, Johnny, I don't think anybody, unless it's a quarterback, can run on this team. Am I wrong?
I haven't seen it. I mean, and what's been so interesting to watch is, one thing that during the Harbaugh years, when we were running the Fangio scheme, that we were really good at was defending the run. I remember we went what, like 30 games without allowing a 100-yard rusher. And the
Yes.
most amazing thing about that was that the majority of the time we were doing it with a 7-man box. Because Fangio loves that shell look, and he'll rotate into a cover 3, single high, or he'll run that palms coverage. He loves to sit in that shell, and so much of what D'Amico Ryans is doing right now reminds me a lot of Vic Fangio. And it's no surprise to me that Vic Fangio was visiting the team in the offseason, and he
Consulting
was
the
seeing.
team, bro. I'm glad you brought that up because that was a perfect sec. I was just thinking that. Um, just off the top of your head, we're gonna talk every week, but I just want to know right now, when D'Amico leaves, do you think Vic is the guy that replaces D'Amico, and will he keep the 4-3
Fangio has never run a 4-3.
in his life? I know.
So, now that being said, a wide 9 comes out of from came from Jim Schwartz, where he was running basically 3-4 principles
Out of
with
a 4-3.
out of a 4-3. So your defensive ends play like outside linebackers in a 3-4. The difference is in the run fits of your defensive tackles. You're having a 2-man interior instead of a 3-man interior, and it changes the fits of your strong safety a little bit, or your uh, or the safety to the strong side, of as far as he normally will be an edge defender, and instead he has to fill the C gap a lot of times, and then he also has to have pursuit, I think, is into the A gap or B gap. Trying to remember, it depends on the call. But anyways, in there, I think as far as coverage structure and the way we played the back end, we could keep about 90% of what we do if Fangio was to come in, as far as what we've done this year. The question becomes, is Fangio willing to run a wide 9? Does he feel comfortable running a wide 9? If you have a Chris Kasurek, are you more comfortable with running a wide 9? Now, the base, as far as if you're going to be in a 3-4, is only about 30% of the time. So,
Correct.
70% of the time, that's why I say a lot of what we do looks a lot like Fangio, because the majority of what Fangio did during the Harbaugh years was running out of nickel. That's why they drafted Jimmy Ward, because he was drafted as a slot guy. Most people forget that he was drafted as a slot guy, and the reason why people said, "Well, why would you spend a first-round pick on a guy who's just going to be in the slot?" And I remember Harbaugh saying that the reason they did that was because he's on the field 70% of the time, and he's more value. He gets more playing time than a nose tackle. So, so with that, the majority of what we would be calling was what Fangio was already running, and the run defense that we have with a 7-man front looks so much similar to what Fangio was doing with us during the Harbaugh years, where nobody is able to run on us, and and a lot of that is due to the defensive line just playing sound assignment football and letting our linebackers with their speed. And it reminds you of the 2011, 12, 13 years where you had Willis and Bo with so much speed and violence from the linebacker position, able to go and hunt. And that's what we're seeing with Warner and Greenlaw, is they're able to go and hunt. So, it's a situation where I would love to see Fangio here. I don't know if it's a true possibility, but I love the idea of it.
I'm just putting it out there because we do know that at some point our defensive coordinator will be moving on, but
Oh,
I don't want the defense to move on, if that makes any sense, because we're starting to see really, really good consistency. Whoever comes in, like when D'Amico took over from Sala, he took the wide nine concept and he kind of made it. I don't want to say he made it better, but he kind of polished it more, right? Like he was already in it, and then he became the head coach of it, and so he learned from just coaching in it. And now when he became the defensive coordinator of this particular scheme, he's got his guy that, Chris Kosaric, and all he has to do is get the right coaches to put the right pieces in there. And so that's the Miko. So the question is, who will be that next guy in line? And many of us want it to be Fangio, but if Fangio is going to kind of switch it back to that 3-4 ish type of a defense, which I feel like we still have the personnel that could run it. We got to figure out our linebackers, but you got two inside ones.
mm-hmm.
And then who's going to play on the outside? And that can be Achilles, because if you don't try to sign or re-sign, Aziz Al-Shaair, now you're looking at replacing it with two guys. So that could be a little bit of an issue. But you are starting, am I wrong? I'm starting to see the 49ers base more nickel now, right? And it's because of the formations from these offenses that are coming out there, the three wideouts, things like that. So you're starting to see a lot of base now from the nickel. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's one reason why I don't think you've seen Al-Shaair get an extension yet, because he's just not on the field as much. That third linebacker isn't as valuable. A slot guy is a lot more valuable because so many teams run three wide receivers the majority of the time.
Bingo.
And
I got to give you
and
the beat.
so and I think if we were to switch to a 3-4-1, you'd see Drake Jackson moving into an outside linebacker role with a la an Alden Smith. The
There it is.
question is, where does a Nick Bosa fit into that? Is he an outside linebacker? He's not really athletic, as far as speed, isn't a drop back guy, so you're never going to want him to drop back. We do it every once in a while, but
Mhm.
you're not going to use him like a Micah Parsons. You're not going to use him as that stand up edge guy, but he's not really big enough to be a 5 technique, which is more like you're looking for that 290 to 310 guy, like a Ray McDonald would be, or Justin Smith is that 5 technique. So, it's where does a Nick Bosa fit into that? Because for me, if you don't do anything with this defense, it takes Nick Bosa out of a defensive end position,
Ever.
a pure defensive end position. That would be the worst decision in the history of football. Uh, so whatever happens, I think that's going to be the thing, is where Warner and Greenlaw, they could play whether you're in a 3-4 or 4-3. That won't change for them that much.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
but the biggest guy it affects is Nick Bosa.
Bosa.
And so I think that's the number one thing. Whoever's going to be in line for DC next year is going to be, how are you going to use Nick Bosa? If I was Kyle Shanahan, that would be the first question I would ask when you walk in the door for the interview is, how do you plan on using Nick Bosa? And if it isn't an answer that you like immediately, thanks for your time.
I hear you, man. We got a super chat contribution from JP Hellahard, 2,800 or 2,800. Thank you for the contribution. He says, see you in Seattle next week, brother. I will see you there. We're going to party. We're going to have a good time. And look, I know it's going to be a short week, but I'm telling you right now, I'm expecting the 49ers to come out victorious. I'm expecting the banged up Seattle Seahawks to fall again. How cool would it be, Johnny, to sweep the Seahawks?
Oh, it would be so good.
It's been a long
It's been since 2011.
been a long
I mean, and I was at that game
Wow.
in 2011 when the last time we swept the Seahawks. It was in Seattle on Christmas Eve. My wife, we were dating at the time. She got me tickets. They were glorious. I was in all my Niner gear, got flipped off by some 65-year-old lady in the parking lot because she was irritated that the 49ers won. It was beautiful. And actually, my other travel mug, this 49ers mug, has a picture of us that we took in the outside the stadium there in Seattle on that day. So it is a day I remember very well, and it would be glorious to sweep Seattle. It would be amazing just to sweep the NFC West. I think because
Whoa, that's right. We beat them. We're 5-0, and then we got the Cardinals at the end of the season, which means we get to.
because and here's why I feel like the 49ers have been the we don't really love talking about the 49ers. We like talking about Kyler Murray and him with the Cardinals. And to see them drop off a cliff has been fun to watch.
That's
To
been
see
amazing.
the Rams and all the hype about them and see them just disintegrate has been fun to watch. And Seattle we hate. So to me, to sweep the NFC West, to bury all of their aspirations would just be so sweet to me.
A lot of fans don't really have faith in Purdy, and it's understandable because there's nothing to go by. I mean, you got this one game. He comes in to relieve an injured quarterback, an injured Jimmy Garoppolo, who we wish nothing but a healthy recovery, a speedy recovery for Jimmy Garoppolo. But it's Purdy time. It is what it is. And a lot of people still just don't believe, and I don't find anything wrong with that. Do you?
I don't. Sorry, the profile picture just
It
cracked
got
me
me.
up.
It had me too, man.
um,
And then it says, then it's first. Never mind. Definitely.
I can understand why fans would be cautious about it. And again, like we talked about off air, I was I was bummed out, dude. Like Sunday night, like feeling like
I know.
the season was just done. I mean, and having that feeling so many times over the years where you felt like you had this great team and then, just derailed by injury. And this goes back to why they drafted Trey Lance in the first place was because, we talked about it in our text that Jimmy Garoppolo could not stay on the field. That was a huge reason why they drafted Trey Lance. People get into the performance and all this and that, and you go, well, part of it was that they had lost 2 seasons with Jimmy on, on IR. And now here we are again, major injury. Last year, major injuries going into the playoffs that definitely affected his performance. The When he was in New England, he only played a couple games and he was out wide because of injury. As much as anybody can like Jimmy Garoppolo, it's so frustrating to just feel like he's always getting injured, and frustrating because when he plays well and the team really wins and wins well. So but you see, this is why they drafted. But now we've had some of the same frustrations with Trey Lance. He got injured twice last year, and now he's injured again, and been out for the season this year. The biggest question going forward, I think, is going to be, can Brock Purdy stay healthy this down the stretch here? He took some big shots this last Sunday, so I think we're all kind of holding our breath, hoping Josh Johnson doesn't end up in there. But if can we keep some health at the quarterback position, because this defense is special.
Yeah, and I don't want to say this in this way, but we can't waste this season with this with how great this defense is. I don't care if the defense has to will their way to a Super Bowl victory. They're going to find a way to get it done. I feel like the defense, regardless of who's back there at the quarterback position, they're going to figure out a way to get it done. If they got to get the quarterback more opportunities, they're going to figure out a way to get it done. And that's how special this defense is. And on top of that, just health in theory. We need to be healthy from the coaches down to the players. Like, everybody just needs to be on board, because it's about to be a ride, everybody. And the ride really is just beginning. I can tell you that right now. It is just beginning. I know we're 8-4, 5-game winning streak, looking for the 6-game winning streak, looking to prove the 9-4. But we got a team, and that's what we're about to talk about. So let's talk about Johnny before we start showing any film. How can the 49ers and as a whole beat this Buccaneers team?
I think it's just playing 49er football. It's controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides. You make Tampa Bay one-dimensional. They have the GOAT of passing, but if they are one-dimensional, you've seen that they haven't been lighting up the points. So you make them one-dimensional. You don't let them run the ball. You force them into long play conversions for third down. You run the ball well. you stick to it, and you're willing to win ugly. I think that's the biggest thing, is that Brock Purdy doesn't have to make a ton of amazing plays in this game. This isn't going to be a game where you're going against the Chiefs and you say, okay, we're going to have to score 28 points to win. This is a game where if you don't make the big mistake, you probably score 20 points and you win. It starts with controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, rushing the passer, playing good coverage, solid coverage, and don't lose the turnover battle. That's tough with Tom Brady. That's really tough, because, like you said, he's only got 4 interceptions on the year, and he takes care of the ball. So that's Brock Purdy's biggest assignment in this game. You don't give away the ball.
Now, Tampa's going to try to take away the run game, and they're going to put this on Brock Purdy. So the reason why we're doing this episode, we want to figure out what does Brock Purdy well, and what do you think he's going to do well against this particular team. So when you tell me to cue up the film, we'll cue up the film, and then we'll go ahead and get crack-a-lacking. But that's what this is all about, because I don't know. I believe he can do it. I don't. He's poised. I feel like he can get knocked around. First of all, he got sacked 3 times, and 2 of them was his fault. Look, at the end of the day, it's just like this kid is just ready to play football, and you can't teach that. What you want him to do is be wise and finds ways to stay healthy. I do got to ask you this question about Jimmy Garoppolo, because I don't talk about injuries aren't anybody's fault, but we heard Kyle Shanahan say on that play was a 0 blitz. He was supposed to get the ball out to either Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel. I was trying to tell Mike that, but Mike said that Deebo ran the wrong route. And I'm like, it wasn't that he ran the wrong route. It was just the blitz was fast. And they don't know to turn. If they're told to run the route, they don't know when to turn. They don't know when their quarterback's under distress. Jimmy could have avoided the second hit had he just took the sack. Was he supposed to take the sack?
I mean, yeah. I have and I talked about it in my review video. I have an issue with that play from top to bottom, because there's supposedly hots on both. There's hots on both sides, right? So Deebo is the hot to the 2 receiver side. McCaffrey's the hot to the 3 receiver side. The way we slid protection was away from the 2 receiver side, so that's where you're going to have your free blitzer. Quarterbacks like to keep their eyes on the free blitzer. Brock Purdy took his eyes off it on one play, and he about got creamed. And so quarterbacks keep their eyes towards the free blitzer side. That means that your only answer for a 0 blitz is going to be to the 2 receiver side. Now, what Miami did was they backed out 2 defensive tackles short over the middle. We were running Deebo on a choice route, so he's got to go out there and then run it. It's going to be based upon the leverage of his receiver or the defensive back. Well, the defensive back playing outside leverage because he's now got a defensive tackle sitting short over the middle. They only rushed 4 on that play, and they got a free blitzer because they backed those 2 defensive tackles out. And so Jimmy's looking that direction. Deebo's bracketed. He has nowhere to go with the ball. I don't like your only answer for a free rusher to your 2 receiver side, because that gives you so few options. And so it was either Deebo was going to be free or he's getting busted in the chops. That's the issue. I would prefer, Deebo, that you slide the protection the other way and you allow Jimmy to read off of the 3 receiver side, because he did have McCaffrey open for a split second. So, it's one of those that I just have an issue with the play design, period. Which is not common for me to say about Kyle Shanahan. Normally, I really like what he does, but the best case scenario was Jimmy takes a sack. They're all, on the cusp of, they're thinking like the 28-yard line, 24-yard line, something like that. He's trying to not take him out of field goal range. It's one of those of hindsight is 2020 to say to do that. So what's a 0 blitz? A 0 blitz is when you have nobody back. It's an all-out blitz. So there's no deep safety help. Everyone's in man coverage. So you have five receivers, 5 defensive players in man coverage, and 6 rushers. Okay. So they're going to bring more people than the offense can lock. And so it was kind of like a 0 blitz, but they ended up backing 2 defensive tackles out. So, but yeah, it's just it was just an unfortunate play, and I don't know, sitting here and saying, because I've seen a lot of people say it's Jimmy's fault. Like, I just can't see that. I mean, I don't know if you can ever tell a football player not to try and be a football player.
They're saying there's a bunch of static as we talk. It's weird because we don't hear the static, but the feed is getting the static. So we're going to continue with the show. We do apologize for any technical difficulties. We're not sure what it is. It could be YouTube. I can try to refresh my browser. So Johnny, if you stay on, I'll refresh it. All right, and we'll see if we can get that working. All right. So we'll be right back.
What's up, chat? Let's see what you guys are doing in there. A little static. I hear it slightly, Collie. Sounds choppy. Does it still have static?
All right. So he said it's worse now. So is it still there? Is it still choppy? So one people are saying that it's choppy. Some people saying that it's static. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
I can hear you clear too. This is weird.
That's weird.
It's all good. This says you sound clear now. All right, cool. So maybe it's fixed. I'm not sure what it was, but when in doubt, always just refresh the browser. Like that's what it is. It's a browser thing. Hopefully that's what it was. I'm glad that it's working out now. All right, Johnny, I got to go ahead and re-add the film. So let's go ahead and get that popping up here.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and get down to the breakdown, baby.
Let's do it. So every time it pauses, a lot of these plays will run through once, and then it'll pause, and then it'll reverse. And when it comes back, it has a natural pause in there. Just pause it wherever it has a natural pause. So this is a play from preseason. And so here, so pause it. So
you said pause it. I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat at the same time.
No problem. Back it up a little bit. To where it starts out. So this is a preseason. Brock Purdy threw an interception here, and this is interesting because I'm going to show this play and then a play from Miami game. Show some of the growth. The one thing I've seen with Brock Purdy after watching all of his preseason tape and everything is that the guy learns from his mistakes, which is a big positive. Okay, so here they were showing a 2-zone before pre-snap, and then they rotate into a cover 3 sky. So they're going from a 2-high middle field open to a middle of the field closed defense. And we don't have a real good play against this, but we're going to have a high crosser from at the top of the screen from a tight end up there. I believe it's a wide receiver, is one of the guys in training camp. And he's going to be coming over the middle between the 2 hook defenders of the cover 3 zone. You can play it. I think it's going to go in slow motion. And just pause it when it gets to the next station. Okay, so there's the cover 3, and he's just late on this ball. Okay, that ball should be out and go to this area of the field. It comes out late. And he ends up getting picked. It's so you can see the ball ends up by the hash. He was just late on the throw. That was his best solution versus this coverage, and you'll see it. I think it'll slow down here and pause it there. So the red line is where I want him to throw that ball. And it should be coming, like his arm should be in a throwing motion at this point, but it's not. We're talking a fraction of a second. This is how close things are in the NFL. This was a play you would expect to see a throw with anticipation. He needs to get it out sooner to the inside, because if you play, this linebacker number 49 ends up jumping on the right over the hash. So I can play it. I'll go here in a second. I can't remember. I think I had 4 or 5 seconds on it. And picked. Okay. If he has that ball down the middle field more, that's a completion. But that's the difference sometimes in the NFL. Okay, so now when this play rewinds, we'll bring it back. Now we're going to see almost the exact same throw versus the Dolphins. Okay, so here you can pause it. We have so pause it
right there.
Yeah. So now, Miami is going to back out into a cover 3 zone, and we're running. It's a concept we run a lot. We run this kind of short post, and then a choice out up to the top, and Miami's going to back out. But watch the difference in the timing on this. So it's the same, pretty much the same route versus the same coverage. Watch how much sooner he throws his ball.
So you could tell he's progressed.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to see it drops back. Now, boom, he's throwing it. Okay.
I see.
Look at where the receiver is. Look at where the ball ends up. Okay. And he does have a nice sidearm here, but look at how much sooner this ball is in his throwing motion. Okay. Now he's throwing it with anticipation. It's not where it was. Boom. That's what I like to see. That is growth. So we'll bring this play back, and now we're going to show 3 plays in succession. Pause it when it gets to here. We're in a 4-by set. So we have 4 receivers to the bottom, single receiver to the top. This Brandon Ayuk. Okay, you can play it and pause it at the next notation. The defense is shaded to that side. Okay, so they've got to account for 4 possible receivers. So they shade 4 defensive players to that side. So you have a lot of space for Brandon Ayuk up top. Okay, play it. And now pause it. Okay, what we're doing is we're running I really like this play design, actually. So we're running a spot concept to the bottom, which has a spot route, which is the hook over middle. You have a corner route, and you have a flat route. We add use check in this, that he's going to function like a blocker if we throw this flat route. So it's like a swing pass added in, which is really interesting. And then we have just a quick slant to Ayuk up top. Now, with the whole defense shaded to the 4 receiver side, what's going to happen is Purdy is going to throw the quick slant. This is a lot of room for Ayuk, so you can play it, and you'll see this.
And that's pretty tight coverage up there at the top, too.
Mm-hmm. Now, the corner will back out at the last second. So,
okay, there it is. Okay.
Yep. And so, boom, he hits a throw. There's the quick slant. And watch it from the end zone angle. He's going to check the linebacker, number 55. He's looking at him. He makes sure that he's not going out of the lane. Nice little sidearm throw there. Okay, cool. Now pause it again. Same formation. Okay, 4-by-1. This is later in the game. Play it. You're going to see same play, same offensive play. Okay. Now, Miami was showing 3 deep before the snap. They're going to end up running an invert 2. So it's a different defensive coverage here. And you can play it. I think it's going to rewind. We'll go back. So same sort of look here, and he's going to look to the bottom to the slant, but he doesn't predetermine. He looks down there, boom, he sees a linebacker flying out, moves off. Now he's going to go to the spot and the corner route, sees that they're covered, and moves to the swing route. Okay? And you see, you check there's a blocker. So he's not predetermining where these balls are going. He's reading on these same play, different route thrown. Okay? Working all the way to his number 4. Love it. Okay? We see this, and this was near the end of the game. So pause here. Again, same formation, 4-by-1. Okay? Again, same play. 3rd time in the game that we've run this same play. Okay? So it wasn't that Kyle ran these. So now they're showing this 5-man look. They've shaded to that side. He's going to want to. They end up running an 8-man coverage, an 8-man 2 zone. When it comes here, pause it when it stops. Okay, so again, he's expecting, just like he saw the first time, that the defense was shaded over. He checks to the quick slant. They've dropped the outside linebacker out, so he doesn't throw the quick slant. All right, you can play it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good for him.
Yeah.
And I can't tell.
I can't remember how long I put in there. I want to say it was
got it playing. Let's hit play again.
There it goes. And then he moves on to the spot route, and he sees a little opening for Debo, and that's where we're going to get the ball. Okay?
A little open. That was tight coverage, though.
It is tight coverage because it's 8-man coverage, but that was the right throw.
Okay.
And you'll see it here from the end zone. He checks, slant. All right, it's not there. Moves to Debo. It's there. Boom. Get the ball out only where Debo can get it in a tight window. Okay, so you're seeing the same play 3 times, 3 different routes that he's hit on that same play, all dictated by the coverage. That is what I love to see. So, so when you say, what does he need to do to beat the Buccaneers? He needs to do that. Okay, don't force the ball. Don't predetermine where you're going to throw the ball every time. Allow the defense to determine where the ball will go. You don't force it. That 3-play sequence was when I was just like, man, that is what you love to see, and that's something that you don't always see from a 7th round rookie. That he's not just saying, okay, they play this way last time, I'm just going to throw the quick slant because they would have picked him off twice. So, that's the kind of stuff that I go, okay, I really love that. And that's all the clips I have.
Yeah, I keep seeing that we sound like we're in helicopters, and then when I left, you were fine. So they're blaming me, of course, that's what they do. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, is it an audio thing? Do I need to reset the computer? Like, I don't know what it is. So guys, we're having audio technical difficulties. I can't tell if it's choppy from there. I'm not listening to the actual audio feed. I can only hear us, and we sound clear as day. But hey, man, if I get some more money, I could pay a producer. You know what I mean? Like, so this is, don't know what the heck it is. That's weird. It's weird how it is audio technical difficulties, but we sound good, so it's really weird. We'll keep talking, and maybe it'll fix itself. We gotta. I probably have to reboot the computer. That's what I'm thinking. He says it sounds pretty bad. All right, well, we won't keep the show then. We'll go ahead and wrap it up then. We don't want to keep putting out bad content or whatever or whatnot. There's no wires hooked up. So that's the funny part. I can unplug this and plug it back in just to see if it works. Everything's USB now, so there's
Can anybody else hear him? I think we lost him completely. Got you back yet, Wayne? Oh, he's gone. We lost Wayne, everybody. He's still trying to figure it out. All right. So, chat, how do I sound him? Is it all choppy still? I sound good. Well, thanks, Stuart. Collie says he can't hear anything now. Breezy still got no sound. Y'all made him do it. He unplugged it and lost it, and we still can't hear you, Wayne. We see.
all right.
Oh,
So,
hey, you're
I don't
back.
know if
There
that
you
worked.
are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Now they can't hear anything. This is so funny.
No, they can hear you. I can hear you now.
It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. Can you guys hear me? Now I'm clear. Now there's no static. But now we can't hear Johnny.
Can you guys hear me?
This is so funny. I don't know why we can't hear Johnny.
Hey, they say they can hear me.
Get Johnny back. Let's do it. All right, Johnny, what I'm going to do is ask you to go out, come back in, select the audio sound, and we'll try it again. So they can hear me clear. Yeah. And then we'll do some Q&A. So guys, get your questions ready. All right. No, I can hear you, Wayne. You sound clear. No choppy. Johnny, I can hear you loud and clear. All right, we're going to try this again. Johnny, you there?
I'm here.
Okay. So it's
all right.
Back, I guess.
All right.
I hate technology. Have I said that before?
Live shows, everybody. Live shows.
Thank you, Johnny. This is not recorded, but hey, hit the like button. If you like what you don't hear, you know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. All right, so let's do some Q&A, guys. They said that the static is gone. Maybe I should have just unplugged. Go Blooded says I told you it was hardware. But Go Blooded. I'm sorry. Like the shirt, bro. The shirt. They said the choppiness is gone. I feel like we should. Too bad we can't do a quick rewind.
Well, everything I covered is on my review video on Brock Purdy that I posted a couple hours ago. So if you missed it with the choppy, just head over to the channel and you can see it all there. So yeah.
All right. So good. Let's do some Q&A. I see people were asking some questions. I think I was able to get one question. They want to know about Janoris Jenkins. Robert asked, will Janoris Jenkins make it on the roster, or is he done? Because he was nasty with the Rams. So he is on the practice squad. He was added last week. What are your thoughts on Janoris Jenkins?
That was a fascinating pickup to me. They said that they had been trying to add him throughout the year, and he just wasn't willing to take on a practice squad contract. And so, but now he is. I think what he was starting to see was the 49ers were legit contenders. They have a great defense, and I understand that with the defense that we play, and the defense we play, a lot of our coverages are very similar to what he was doing with the Rams with Staley. Okay, so the learning curve wouldn't be as steep, and I think it was a situation where they were liking the idea of having a veteran corner there, a guy who has experience in that system, and because they were a little thin after Eman went down, and if Lenore goes down, then you're on Ambry Thomas or Womack, and I would just wonder if they're not fully confident in the technique for those guys and in how sound their technique is. I read a really fascinating printout that a guy who was very generous sent me. He was with some NFL teams, and he sent me a printout of one of a defensive coordinator's rules for the read to a specific. I mean, it was a 12-page readout of the exact duties of a corner in just the read to. It was 6 pages of that, going down to the angle of the arms, where the balance of the feet. I mean, it was extremely specific, and seeing that was going, okay, this is why I could see them wanting to bring in a veteran corner who's played in the system if these younger guys aren't 100% on all these technique things. And so I think Janoris Jenkins is there as insurance.
Okay. Insurance is cool. Insurance is cool. We got a couple more questions for you. Let's see. Johnny, do you think the Bucs will bring a lot of blitzes this weekend?
I don't. I think what they're going to try and do is because I think they're going to consider their matchups of Vita Vea versus our interior O line. I think they like that matchup. I just do. I think they like the matchups on McGlinchey, and it's going to come down to they're going to let their linebackers roam the middle and try and force Brock Purdy to read full 7-man coverages, and try and force a throw into coverage. I think that's what they're going to try and do. So I don't see them blitzing a lot. And Kyle's a guy that if you blitz him too much, he's going to burn you in some way with a bubble screen or a screen of some kind, or a run, a toss, something. He's going to figure out how to burn your blitz. And it doesn't have to be with passing, like downfield passing. So I don't see them doing that. I think they're going to play a lot of coverage.
All right. So a lot of coverage. I didn't expect them to blitz like we saw with the Saints or like we saw with the Miami Dolphins. I think they're going to play more straight up, just like Johnny says. And look, this could be a good running game. They can force these linebackers to try to make some plays. I know. Look to outside. I don't think I like their linebacking core. Don't get it twisted. I do like Levante David, and I like Devin White. I like those guys. I just don't know if they're going to have the speed. We can try to wear them out running sideline to sideline. So let's see how that pans out from the offensive side, and things like that. So, guys, I'm glad that the sound is back because, man, I was getting nervous, man. I was sweating and all that good stuff. But we got more questions, Johnny, before we go and get up out of here.
Yeah, bring
Chris
them on.
Patton says Purdy was pretty good in college. Why was he picked so low in the draft?
A lot of it was measurables. I mean, he is not your prototypical NFL quarterback. He's short for a quarterback, but doesn't have the athleticism of a short quarterback that we tend to see, of a Russell Wilson, of a Kyler Murray, of a Baker Mayfield. He wasn't at a really big school, where a traditional
Iowa State.
downfield passing school. He didn't have a lot of great weapons in college. So, there's a thing like, I do wonder if, with how similar his measurables are to like a Mac Jones, if he's at Alabama, which I don't know if it's true or not. I think it was on Twitter somewhere that somebody said that he turned down a scholarship from Alabama, which I could see why. I mean, at one point they had Tua, Hurts, and Mac Jones in their quarterback room. I wouldn't want to go and sit behind those guys either. But you wonder, because Mac Jones was able to just light it up with the weapons that he had at receiver. If Purdy had those kind of weapons, are we talking about a second round pick, a third round pick? he did break a lot of records, but it was school records.
Yeah,
You
12
know,
too. Like,
and yeah, and it's again, it's not considered a division that it's a run first division is kind of what it's seen as. So you go and find linemen, you go and find linebackers and defensive linemen there. So I think there's a lot of it was the measurables, that and he doesn't have that overly strong arm. There is just from the eye test of the physical standpoint, he doesn't scream first, second round pick, prototypical NFL quarterback. He does have measurables, I think, as far as size, similar to a Jeff Garcia, who wasn't, a guy that came out and everybody wanted out of college. So, I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Look, let's just take it one game at a time with Brock Purdy. I think that's how I'm kind of looking at it. He does some things very, very well. I really think him on the run, his accuracy on the run is pretty spot on. It's probably been the best that we've seen out of the three quarterbacks that we have. He moves outside the pocket. He's thrown on the run. There was that swing pass that you just showed us in the video where he jumps and throws it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you had to jump and throw that dart. It was a dart, and Debo was able to get 9+ yards out of it. So I think he does some things really well. Johnny, I'm still not sold. He doesn't have an arm strength and he doesn't have the deep ball. And that's why that ball was intercepted. I know people saying that they don't care, but in a game, interceptions matter, turnovers matter. So he can't turn the ball over regardless if it was a punt and punt distance. It doesn't matter. His arm strength has to find a way to get better because he's going to get the opportunity to take those shots down the field if he can locate that man-to-man coverage. So what can he do to probably get better at that? He's gonna see it in this game. He's gonna get man-to-man. He's gonna have to try to get that ball down the field. Underthrown balls will get picked.
I think it's going to be throwing with anticipation, and if you're going to throw that fade, then you got to get some air under it. Um, I think Kyle's going to try and manage that situation.
Okay.
I think he's going to try and avoid it being. I mean, because I see where people weren't as worried about it because it was fourth down. Okay, and so it's you're taking a shot. It's an arm punt.
Correct.
So
Like it had been on a first down.
yeah. Um, it's one of those of he doesn't have it's not like a Sean Hill arm, but it is not,
I feel like this is the third Sean Hill reference on today's
hey,
episode.
I will always reference Sean Hill when I can. The play, talking about turnovers, the play that scared me the most
Okay.
was the slide. We're running a slide concept. He was doing a naked boot. It was right near the end of the game. We had just had the big Christian McCaffrey run.
Yeah.
We come down there. He does that naked boot around, and Bradley Chubb is right there off the edge, and he doesn't just tuck the ball and eat the sack. He's kind of trying to throw the ball. He gets hit, and he's holding that ball out away from his arm. That play scared me more than anything because I was sitting there going, okay, you have a field goal at this point. What you can't do is turn the ball over. You
Correct.
absolutely can't. You do not need to make a play here. So you eat the sack. You do not put that ball in any sort of harm's way because it was only a 6-point lead at that point. Okay. We kick a field goal. It's a 2-score game, very little time left. So, it was one of those of that play was like, okay, you need to understand when it is not a good idea to try and make a play. And those are the kind of mistakes you cannot make. And that worries me with him is, will you make that play where you have the game almost in hand
Mhm.
and you're just trying to make a play and you get the turnover that you cannot have? Because if you get that turnover there and you're facing Tom Brady and you give him 2.5, 3 minutes to go down with only a 6-point lead, you're done.
Done. Cooked.
Okay.
Finito.
So,
Unless you're up by 30.
right. But if it's a 6-point game and you
Correct.
make that mistake, you cannot do that.
Correct.
So that's where that was the play that scared me the most because it was like it was this close to reversing, and we're talking a whole different story about Brock Purdy. We're looking at it because that was Nick Mullins' problem. right? Was he just didn't understand the situation at times and would just make the boneheaded. I mean, worse than Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Because why have we been on a 5-game winning streak? Because we aren't turning the ball over. So, Brock Purdy, do not turn that ball over.
So we're talking about the number 8 defense, guys, going against the rookie quarterback and Brock Purdy. We're not talking about the 28th defense. And I know here's a bold prediction from Flat Plain, Oregon, says at the end of the regular season, Glock 13 will be talked about as having exceeded all expectations. All we'll see. I tell you, that's pretty bold. That's pretty damn bold. I would love for him to exceed all expectations. That's pretty bold. I also wanted to talk about Matthew Acetta's comments. Says Purdy will do just fine. He proved that last week. The kid does not have the money flying in his face. I believe he's super excited and ready just to have fun and play some football. I like that he said have fun and play some football. I want to focus on that because having fun and playing some football isn't a typical Kyle Shanahan thing. Take it over. You get where I'm going with this.
I do. It's very business as usual. It's very very detail oriented. Very much do your job and do this job absolutely specifically. It's very, very structured. So yeah, there's not a lot of, well, let's just go wing it. That is not Kyle Shanahan's thing. You can tell he's that OCD kind of guy.
Yeah. And that's what concerns me because does the pressure get to Brock Purdy because he's trying to do everything that his coach is asking him to do? Or will the coach simplify it so that he doesn't have to do everything, just the small amount of things that he's asking him to do? So that's where it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to managing Brock Purdy's like expectations and limitations and things like that. Because the kid's still limited. He's still some things he can't do. We just talked about him throwing down the field, but he can get the ball out of his hand really quick. And from our observation from the film that we just watched, he clearly seems to understand these coverages and what they're trying to do to him. He's understanding not when to throw it to the linebacker. He's understanding when to hit the quick slant. He's understanding when to go through 1, 2, 3, and my swing guy is open. I'm going to throw it to Debo in a swing. We'll love to see Christian McCaffrey do that because Debo is going to run you over. Christian McCaffrey is going to be looked to cut somebody up and make a miss. So I would love to see that, and we probably will. Or there was that third option, which is what he ran. Collie says, Wayne and Johnny, what's up with all these free rushes to our quarterbacks? Are teams overloading on a particular side, or is it just miscommunication issue? It's just numbers to me.
Yeah, a lot of it's numbers. And I think it part of it is going back to what I said about the play Jimmy got hurt on. I think some of them are testing some of our answers to these blitzes. I think they're looking at that if your best answer is going to be to your 2 receiver side and you back out of that in any way, in any sort of a creeper blitz or something, that now you only have a 2 on 2 or 2 on 3 answer instead of a 3 on 3 or 3 on 4, which gives you more options, right? So I think until we start seeing Kyle a little more willing to shift the line the other way, or I was hoping that Kyle would give a little bit more elaborate of an answer because he was asked about that play and what happened to the protection. I reached out to David Lombardi about it, and he said he was going to ask it if he had time, and somebody else asked it before him because I was trying to see of why our answers are to the 2 receiver side as far as from that unblocked thing. I want to know schematically why that's a choice by Kyle, because we've seen that throughout the year. We saw it versus the Chiefs. We've seen it versus the Chargers. We've seen it versus the Saints. And now we're seeing it versus Miami. Teams are seeing this and they're going to start doing it until we come up with some better answers or anticipation of those answers. So, some of it's a numbers game of presenting it and now understand that they're, the way that these teams are running these things is very smart. And McDaniels did have some inside info on exactly how we have answers for these things, and I think they had a good plan for it too.
All right, a couple of more questions. This is more of a personal question for me. This is from Big Papa, never saw for Dan. He says, "Is that a claymore behind you, Johnny? And are you Scottish? And do you know what clan you're from?
I am not Scottish. I am part Mexican and part Italian. I'm a Mexitalian.
Mexican.
Yeah, so my clan is one of the five families, but because my great grandfather was from Sicily. No, this is not a claymore. This is Anduril. It is the sword of the king from Lord of the
Lord of the
Rings.
Rings. Yes,
So, it's a symbol of the strength of man holding back evil in this world. And so that's why I keep it on my wall as a reminder to be a strong man holding back the evil of the world.
very well said. And then last, we'll end on this one. Steve O knows football, knows NFL. It's my guy. What up, Breezy? Do you think Purdy will stay hot against like Vita Vea and this Bucks defense? And you know, this is not an easy question to answer because we just don't know. Like we really don't know. I think the Bucks defense goes underlooked because they're not winning games, but they're number 8. We're number 1. They're number 8. So I'm gonna let you take this one.
Uh, you know, that's going to be tough. I think that's going to come down to the offensive line. I said it a while back, and people jumped on me because they thought I was making some sort of excuse for Jimmy Garoppolo. I said this team will go as far as the offensive line takes it, because if they're able to run the ball and establish that, it doesn't really matter what we get
Does
from our
not.
quarterback position. We can be the 2000 Ravens. We can be the 2002 Buccaneers. We can be the was it 2015 Broncos. That didn't get great production from their quarterbacks. We could be the 2012 Seahawks. People will say Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl. That Seahawks team had Marshawn Lynch and the Legion of Boom, and they won a Super Bowl. So, if you can get good production from the offensive line to lean on people in that run game, you don't need much production from your quarterback position, and our defense and that run game will do it. So, to me, if the offensive line can handle Vita Vea, I don't worry about Brock Purdy.
All right. I said that was going to be the last question, but then I saw this from our guy Daniel. He says, "Hey bros, hi from Brazil. Congrats for your good job here. And I would like to listen about Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy, what we can expect from this." So we do know Jimmy Garoppolo's 99% out of 100 not going to play anymore. Right? Or do you feel like there's a slight chance? I mean, Kyle didn't rule it out, but
Yeah, so I mean, Kyle said there was a way outside chance. Okay.
way outside chance. Damn,
Now,
Kyle.
yeah, Lombardi had a good article on this, where
Sure.
he talked to a foot doctor about it, a podiatrist who was saying that the if there's only a single bone broken in there, that you're looking at healing time of about 6 weeks, and then some rehab to get the foot back into condition to handle NFL play. And then there was another doctor who Narav, that is on Twitter. He also chimed in on that and said, "Yeah, it was a really good article, really good explanation of it, and 6 weeks is about right. That is not unreasonable." So, is what are the trainers telling Kyle Shanahan? What are the foot specialists telling Kyle Shanahan? We all know that Kyle hates medical questions. I think Kyle, I don't think he tries to be like just like coy about everything. I really think he's so short and just wants the quick and dirty from the doctors,
Mhm,
just to know what he needs to do this week.
mhm.
I really, people don't realize how much time these guys put in for each week. I think it's like a 5-minute consultation with a doctor saying, "Okay, what's the status on this?" Well, could be 6 weeks, could be up to 12 weeks. That's kind of an outside chance. He could be back around this week. Okay, that's cool. That's all I need to know. He's at this point. Cool, we'll go. And then he's moving on, and he's not giving it a second thought, because everything is about the Buccaneers this week.
This week.
So, I don't think we're going to get a clear answer on that until week 16, 17, 18. I just don't think we're going to get anything clearer on that.
I agree with that. And as far as Brock Purdy, listen, man, Brock's gonna go out there. He's gonna have a game plan, and his job is to execute it, right? But the good thing about having Brock Brock has a great supporting cast, and we haven't talked about any of the supporting cast on this particular episode or whatnot. But he has a great supporting cast, and you can see that they're all in on this guy. They're bigging him up. Trent Williams was coming out making statements. The defensive players and Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, all these guys are making really good statements about what Brock can do. I'm not worried or concerned about Brock. I'm worried about him staying healthy. He can't be running into sacks. Look, you're gonna get sacked, but don't turn and run into a sack like that. That's my issue, because that's when things happen. Like Jimmy, even on the Jimmy play, he was gonna get sacked, and then he turned and did a spin. Next thing you know, it was another guy, and then weight falls on in, and physics takes place, and bada boom, bada bing, it happens. So I think Brock's going to be just fine. The question is, will the supporting cast supplement and help Brock out? And I guarantee you that's what they're going to do. Johnny, it's been real. We're going to jump off here. My man Mose Knows has a show. I'm going to be jumping on there around 7:15, so you can catch it right here on the Wayne Breezy channel. But Johnny, one more time, tell everybody where they can find my man Johnny Dell, baby.
So they can find me at Johnny Dell's Football Academy on YouTube. That's where the majority of my content is. And then on Twitter at Johnny Dells. That's Johnny with no H. So I know that messes with people sometimes, but they can find me there. And for all the content, I've been working overtime the last couple weeks to try and get a couple videos out each week. I cannot promise that for the rest of the season, but we've been doing it because man, those videos take a long time.
Take a long time.
But man, I appreciate letting me on the show and being able to talk 49ers stuff. Always a pleasure, Wayne.
Thank you for being here. And Lee, my man from across the pond, it was great meeting you again. Great seeing you again at the game. We had a blast out there, and we got the win. You went home happy. I didn't care how I got home because I'm lying. I wanted to get home. It's something about traveling. Me and traveling just doesn't mix for some strange reason. But it could possibly be the same game. We'll talk about that off the air. Guys, thank y'all for tuning in. 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, ladies and gentlemen. So that's 4:15 West Coast time, right? Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you guys tune in. Mo's Nose is going live. Your boy Breezy finally got the invite. We going on, baby. Love y'all. Stay up, stay faithful. Johnny, again, I appreciate you. Thank you, my brother. Till the next one, keep it nitty gritty, baby. We out. Peace.